I'm wearing vintage Kenzo, so you guys actually listen to me when I say this. It's very clear this year that the Met Gala did not resonate with people online, and the opinions are quite harsh. I was not that impressed by the Met Gala this year. To start off, here's a little bit of a credentials dump, just so you know that I'm somewhat qualified to speak on specifically this year's Met Gala theme, which was fashion as art.
I have a bachelor's degree in fine art, art history, and graphic design, and I had an art studio where I was able to work with brands like Gucci and Givenchy and auction my work with Christie's. Since then, I've continued to develop my studies in fashion by pursuing an education in tailoring with IFM in Paris, and I've been operating my own brand Ellen Guinea for the last 3 years, showing our collections in Paris during Paris Fashion Week, and I'm currently developing my third collection.
So, with that out of the way, I think an old quote from Tom Ford puts it best. I'll summarize here, but basically his sentiment was that the Met Gala used to be a place to celebrate beautifully crafted clothing, and now it's a costume party. Obviously, we see that with Katy Perry and the hamburger, but we also see that with Heidi Klum this year showing up in the same manner to the Met Gala as she does to her own Halloween party, quite literally a costume. Fashion in the last few years has really grown to encompass a lot more things like technology, robotics, and new manufacturing techniques, which is in some ways exciting, but also foregoing the beauty of what makes fashion as a craft so unique. On a similar point, Tim Gunn has the sentiment that there's a distinction of style with smart clothes and dumb clothes. Obviously, this goes with more of a street style rather than the Met Gala, where it's encouraged to express yourself a little bit further. But I felt this year specifically, I could really see a lot of the people on the carpet struggling to operate with what they wear. And although I think there's a specific glamour that comes with foregoing sensibilities for the sake of fashion, I do think great fashion is able to uphold that level of glamour without the sacrifice of mobility or personal agency. My favorite look I saw from the Met Gala events was actually an after-party dress by Steve O. Smith, because to me, it took the same artistry that we saw from what he presented on the carpet to a much more wearable and realistic standard that I believe made the woman wearing it feel less like it's a costume or a performance and more like she's a beautiful woman wearing a piece of artistry. What I think makes truly beautiful and successful glamorous fashion is embracing the utilitarianism of clothing and the beauty and the glamour of fashion as an art. Unfortunately, this year, I don't think that very many attendees were able to find that balance, and I don't blame them, but I do think there is a lost elegance or a lost art to being effortless. The effortlessness was really missing this year, and that's what a lot of people picked up on. The last thing I have to say about the Met Gala that I think a lot of people forget when critiquing the event is that at the end of the day, it is a charity gala. It is raising money to support the Met so then it can